Well, good morning, everyone. Last time, in the last video, in the last youth group lesson, we talked about Eustace and his self-focus that makes him more and more selfish and self-deceived until eventually he ends up becoming on the outside what he's always been on the inside, a dragon. And as a dragon, he feels the weight of his sinfulness, and yet he's still trapped in his dragon skin. That's the picture that Lewis wants us to see when it comes to this dragon part, that the power of our own sin and selfishness to trap us in a way that we simply cannot get out of by ourselves. Eustace is a dragon, and there is absolutely nothing he can do about it. The way that Lewis describes the undragoning of Eustace makes it abundantly clear. It's probably the most famous scene in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, maybe one of the most famous scenes in all of the Narnia books. And unfortunately, if all you have ever seen is the newest movie, then they get this part completely wrong. It's one of the things that I dislike the most about it. They mess this up. In the real story, Edmund is sitting one night trying to go to sleep. Well, he's laying trying to go to sleep, and he hears a noise in the bushes. And he goes to investigate, and he sees Eustace there, undragoned, a real boy again. And Edmund is overjoyed by that. But Eustace isn't ready yet to go tell the others. Instead, he asks Edmund if they can go talk somewhere about what had happened to them. And so they go, and he tells he tells Edmund the story. You see, he was at his all-time low as a dragon. He completely despairing over who he was and what he had done to everybody, and the fact that he was going to be left behind. And he was cut off from the entire human race. And then Aslan walks up to him. Aslan tells Eustace to follow him, so he follows him to this beautiful glade with a well close by. And Aslan tells Eustace to take off his clothes and bathe in the well. But Eustace doesn't really know what to do with that. And I think I'm going to let you hear the rest of it directly from C.S. Lewis. I was just going to say that I couldn't undress because I hadn't any clothes on, when suddenly I thought that dragons are the snaky sort of things that and snakes cast off their skins. Oh, of course, thought I. That's what the lion means. So I started to scratching myself, and my scales began coming off all over the place. Then I scratched a little deeper, and instead of just scales coming off, here and there, whole pieces of skin started peeling off beautifully, like it does after an illness, or as if I were a banana. In a minute or two, I just stepped out of it. I could see it lying there beside me, looking rather nasty. It was the most lovely thing, so I started to go down to the well for my bath. But just as I was going to put my foot into the water, I looked down and saw that it was hard and rough and wrinkly and scaly, just as it had been before. Oh, that's all right, I said. It only means that I've got another smaller suit underneath the first one. I'll have to get out of that too. So I scratched and tore it again, and this underskin peeled off beautifully, and I stepped out of it, and it lying beside the other one, and went down to the well for my bath. Well, exactly the same thing happened again. And I thought to myself, oh dear, however many skins have I got to take off? For I was longing to bathe my leg. So I scratched away for the third time, and got a third skin, just like the two others, and stepped out of it. But as soon as I looked at myself in the water, I knew it had been no good. Then the lion said to me, "You will have to let me undress you." I was pretty afraid of his claws, I can tell you, but I was pretty nearly desperate now, so I just lay flat down and let him do it. The very first tear he made was so deep that I had thought it had gone right into my heart. And when he began pulling off the skin, it hurt worse than anything I had ever felt. The only thing that made me able to bear it was just the pleasure of seeing the stuff peeled off. He peeled the beastly stuff right off, just as I thought I had done it myself the other 3 times, only they hadn't hurt. And there it was, lying on the grass, only ever so much thicker and darker and knobbly looking than the others. And there I was, smooth and soft as a peeled switch, and smaller than I had ever been. Eustace tries to peel the skin off of himself, which is again showing us the power that sin has over us to trap us. And every time he tried to do it, he had another one underneath it. But when Aslan did it, it hurt. It hurt worse than anything Eustace had ever felt his entire life. But when he tried to do it himself, it hadn't hurt hardly at all, because he hadn't gone deep enough into the problem. Only when Aslan sunk his claws deep into Eustace did he realize just how deep his dragon skin actually goes. And then when it came off, it hurt so badly, but it also felt so good. You see, youth, when we try to defeat sin ourselves, when we try to change our heart ourselves, when we try to do it by sheer willpower, all we can do is just scrape off a few small layers of skin. I mean, think about some sins like idolizing popularity or beauty or athleticism or being a perfectionist or something like that. When we tackle those sins ourselves, trying harder just not to care about what other people think, or trying harder not to be obsessed and put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, we may end up doing that for a little while. But we think we've defeated it, taken the dragon skin off. But the thing is, a day later, even a few hours later, we find ourselves doing something we are so ashamed of. And we've done it because we want to feel like we fit in, or we want to feel like we're popular, feel like others value us, or feel like we're better than everyone else at something. The dragon skin is deep, and we can't peel it off. Only Jesus can take it off. But the thing is, when he does, it hurts. That's scary, because we don't want to deal with that pain. We don't want to face the sin head on. But when we finally see it peeling off for real, it feels so good, as Eustace said. Now, I need to end this video, so I want you to think about that and the below questions, and maybe talk through them with your parents, because they will probably understand this even better than you do. And I also want you to read 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 to 9. Then Friday and Sunday, we'll talk more about how Jesus peels off our dragon skins, at least in general. In the meantime, you think about that. I'll see you on Sunday.